Are you searching for where you can?
Hello, how are you? I am Kamau Kujichagulia, and this is On the Case with Kamau Kujichagulia, where each week we interview someone very, very important in the city of Trenton, someone who loves the city of Trenton and is out to make it even a better place for all of us to live. This week we have two amazing guests. We have City Council President Kathy McBride, who will be our first guest this evening, and then coming on at 8:30, we will have our good sister Ty Wilson, who is running for council at large. So I think this is going to be a very interesting evening. Also, Michael Harmon, my son, will be here this evening asking questions and dialoguing with our good interviewees with me. So without further ado, I want to bring on our first guest, Council President Kathy McBride.
Hey, good evening. Good evening. Thank you for having me, Kamau.
It's very great to have you, my sister. It's good to see you.
Yes, it's always a pleasure.
Okay, let me just to let so people know who you are. Why don't you tell people who Kathy McBride is?
Well, Kathy McBride is a lifelong resident of the city of Trenton. My parents moved here when I was 2 months old. We moved to Vine Street out in the North Ward. I have 10 siblings. I have 7 children, and I was raised in a Baptist family. My grandfather was a Baptist minister, and so was my father. So I'm rooted in the church growing up, and I've spent most of my life here in Trenton. Besides going out visiting and traveling. I went to the local schools, Jefferson Junior 1 and Trenton Central High. I went to Mercer County Community College and got married shortly after Mercer County and started a family and have some beautiful children. I am so proud of my children. I couldn't ask for anything better than the ones that I have. I wouldn't trade them for the world. And basically, that's who Kathy McBride is. Always my grandparents, excuse me, I don't know, something that just came up through the screen. But anyway, my grandfather as a child, he always let me speak up and speak out when children weren't supposed to really be speaking out. I was always the type of individual that want to make my point. And my uncles, they couldn't stand that because, they used to say, oh, they're grown, she needs to be with the children. And my grandfather used to always say, let me hear her side of the story. So I've been telling my side of the story for a very long time. And I believe that helped give me a voice. I believe it started with my grandfather. Him allowing me to always express my opinion, and it just grew from there. And as most of the tragedy of my son is what started this path to politics. I had founded myself and several other community members. We had founded the organization Mothers Against Violence after the death of my son in '93. And so one day, a couple of the members of the Mothers Against Violence, because we have been all over the world, in the nation with the organization. We hosted Hillary Rodham Clinton under the umbrella of the Mothers Against Violence, and just had accomplished so many things with the gun movement, the anti-gun movement and smart guns. And two of the members said, listen, we have really taken the Mothers Against Violence to its height. Now we need to be able to assist the residents in a different way. We need to be able to begin to try to make some serious changes in their everyday lives to help combat the violence. And so that's when they asked me to run. And I agreed. And so it took me 3 terms before I was elected. I had won, but back in 2006, there was a slate. The mayor had a slate, and then you had to get 50 plus one. So I came in third place, but because the top vote getter didn't get 50 plus one, it was a runoff. And so that happened twice. And then in 2010, I was successful. And that was under the Mac administration. And under the Mac administration, I was the president of the city council for 1 year because they had a rotating council that term. And after that term, I ran for mayor and I wasn't successful. And when I came back this particular time, it was because of the water department. I had already helped get the signatures to put the water department on the referendum. And so when under Eric Jackson's administration, they had 17 infractions in the water department. And so people saw the state having the opportunity to try to come in and let outsiders take control of the water department, which is Trenton Waterworks, that belong to the residents in the city of Trenton. And so they said, listen, you got to come back. Because I wasn't coming back. They said, you need to come back to help us stop this takeover. So because we had won the referendum, the only way that they could take the water is with infractions. And so that's why I came back, because there was 17 infractions under Mayor Jackson. And when I came back, my goal was to make sure that the Trenton Water Department remained in the hands of the Trentonians.
Now,
And so,
didn't the state just come in and say they were going to take over the waterworks now?
well, the state can't take over the water, but they have issued a monitor. And when I talk about the water department, I like to just let people understand that Trenton's water department has some of the best employees that Trenton has to offer. When we sat down with the previous director, her name was Miss McCabe, and she said, you guys have too many vacancies. A lot of them are political hires. You need to get them out of there. You need to hire experienced workers, because the water department had been ran by a gentleman, last name Mitchell, and under him, the person that worked under him, she had an engineering degree, and she had the license, the highest license you can get to work in the water department, which was a T4, which is a T4. She had never been given the opportunity or a chance to grow. And so the under Eric Jackson, they had hired an outside company, and they were paying those people $160,000, $120,000, and our licensees were training those people to do their job. It made no sense at all. So we went to DEP and we fought for the T4 that was a Trentonian, the W4 that was a Trentonian, the S4 and the C4 that were already in the department. And we fought for them to be able to step up and then also get paid for the work that they were doing. So we have the best talent. The people that we have running the water department with those licenses, they can go anywhere in the world and run a water facility.
What's wrong with the waterworks? I mean, why is the state coming in? Why is the water not up to standard?
The Environmental Protection Agency has never said that water wasn't up to standard. And so the question that I have as an individual is, where are the infractions? So for one, they cited that we didn't have the talent. That was one of the DEP charges, that we didn't have the talent. Well, if you have a T4, a W4, S4, and a C4, it doesn't get in you. The license doesn't come in any higher
And
than
we
that.
have that. We have those people.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do. And the only person that is not um, skilled enough to be over there is the director that the Reed Gasiora administration hired. He doesn't have the skill set or the tools or the license or the degrees.
Why
And
is he there?
well, you have to ask the council members that voted for him, and you have to ask the administration.
Were you one of the people that voted for him?
Definitely not.
Okay, I just wanted to get that on the record
Yeah,
there.
definitely not. And so when DEP says that you don't have the talent, the people that they're talking about is the political hires, because everybody that the council fought for to be there, they're more than experienced. They have the degrees to back it up, and they have the license to back it up. So when they said you don't have the talent, my question to DEP was, what talent are you talking about? Are you talking about all of the mayor's hirees that he's hired? Because you can't be talking about the W4s and the T4s and the T3s. So who are you talking about?
Okay.
The mayor has a lot of political appointees over there.
Now, I mean, you like you say, you didn't vote for the director of the waterworks. From what we understood for the past maybe 4 years is that council and the mayor have been at odds with each other. Now, you hear all this mess about it's council's fault, it's your fault that the mayor isn't getting certain things that he wants. When I'm thinking, well, I said, wait a minute, Kathy is pretty heavy woman here. There must be other explanations that when he presents stuff, maybe he's not presenting it in the form that it should be presented. Is that fair to say?
Well, I'll just tell you like this. Come on. I will not ever support a mayor that should be representing the residents of the city of Trenton, and they stand on the city hall steps with the trade unions to outsource our jobs from the sanitation department, public property, and the water department to the unions. And so, no, I will not. And he didn't give the unions their raises for 3 years. And when it was election time, then they were able to negotiate. But Councilwoman Vaughn and myself, we have been champion for the unions from day one. It made no sense. And so, yes, there's uh, some disagreements because we're the checks and balances. And we're not going to allow you to run this money out of the city. You have all of these nonprofits. They were giving money to nonprofits like I've never seen before. Under the CARES Act, they wanted to give millions of dollars to all of these nonprofits. But these nonprofits have been in place for years, for years. And when a company comes in and asks for people with training, they can't produce anyone that they've trained, but they walked away with the funding. So yes, there is a lot of back and forth, but the back and forth is that myself, I'm going to do what the people elected me to do, and that is represent them. That is not to allow money to go out of the border. I just want to say this to you, Kamal. The council voted to change the calendar year for this mayor to a 6-month calendar year in 2021. With that calendar year change, the mayor had $163 million to work with.
Mm.
And if you ask me where that money went, I could not tell you. because time after time after time, the council has asked him for the receipts, and all we get is stonewalled. They want to run the the ARPA funding out of the city. We had businesses that were going belly up, and the ARPA funding should have went to the local businesses. Our businesses still to this day has not been able to get any of the ARPA funding. As a matter of fact, on his first report, he reported that they had allotted the West Trenton Community Center $500,000. The West Trenton Community Center is on Stuyvesant Avenue, and they feed about 200 people every Saturday. You could go down Stuyvesant Avenue on a Saturday morning. They're lined up from about 6:30 until 3. They were slated to get $500,000, and on their report, it said they received it. But they never received it. They never got to check. And so when we start talking about not disagreeing, yes, we are disagreeing on some strong fundamental issues. Where is that $500,000 check? He's bringing people in from everywhere, not ever trying to hire the Trentonians. And what he's doing this year, because we're in election season, is just trying to placate to them by giving them a job in sanitation, a job in public property. But you know what? I believe right now, I am convinced that Trenton needs an independent woman. And I believe that woman is me. I believe that we need someone with tenacity, strong enough to stand up to the organizations that want to keep Trenton dependent on transitional and conditional aid. I believe it's enough with the old way. You guys have been doing this thing for the last 200 years, and you haven't gotten it right. Look at our city. You don't have to take my word for it. Go outside your home. Look on Bellevue Avenue. Go down Hermitage. Some of these streets you can't even go down. I went down a street yesterday called Howard Street. It's off of Wolverton over that way. You couldn't even get down the street. I don't even understand how those people can drive back and forth. So those are some of the things that I would like to talk about. I would like to talk about how a mayor can allow a hospital to leave on his watch without even fighting for it. Never came to the council to tell us that there were conversations about St. Francis Hospital shutting down. Never going to the governor to get money for our city. These are some of the things that need to be discussed. How could you even allow a mayor with 5 subpoenas, 2 from the FBI and 3 from the state, to even pick up petitions to run? How could you?
Okay.
How could you?
I hear what you mean. Go ahead, Michael.
Ms. McBride, how are you?
Hey, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm well. Obviously, there has been a few conflicts between the mayor's office and the city council. Moving forward, how will you address the conflicts between the mayor's office and the council?
Well, see, for one thing, as the mayor, you must understand that the only way that you could get anything done in any form of government is with compromise. You cannot dictate to the council, and you can't shut the council down when they don't see things your way. The art of this field, government, is compromise. There must be compromise in order to get anything done. So that's one of the ways that I would move forward with the council, with the new incoming council, is with compromise.
Okay. You know, when you talk, doing all of this so-called conflict throughout these past 4 years, I often said to in the newspaper and stuff like that, I said, wait a minute, if I'm the mayor and when I present something at city council, I already know whether it's going to pass or not, because I've already sat down and I've talked with council members. And so obviously, if he's upset about
Exactly.
things not getting passed, he must not have talked with anybody about it.
Exactly. Some of the things that they come to the council with, we don't see them until the review. And when we see them and we question them for backup information, you don't get it. Listen, one of his directors left the city hall because of violation of procurement laws. That's a serious no-no. That's what one of the FBI subpoenas is for, and one of the state subpoenas is for procurement. You cannot violate procurement
Procurement
law.
is,
You
is
cannot
buying stuff.
circumvent.
Procurement is
Pardon me?
procurement is buying stuff.
Procurement is uh, giving out contracts to contractors to either fix something up or tear something down or build something. Is you put out an RFQ or an RFP. That's procurement. That's what you want to. You want to do it fairly. You want to do it in an open and fair process.
And they're
And so,
not doing that.
well, his own housing and economic development director went to the Federal Bureau of Investigations and said they weren't doing it.
Really, really.
Yes, that is one of the subpoenas is for procurement,
Okay.
violating procurement laws.
Okay. Other than
You know,
the procurement, during the past 4 years, the police directors, we've had like a revolving door of police directors. What is that about? What would you change about that?
Well, so the most important thing for the city of Trenton is safety and security. And the police department plays a huge role in achieving that goal. The first order of business for me, I don't know if a lot of you know about the crime center,
No, I
but
don't know about that.
yeah, we have a crime center on Front Street. You've never been to the crime center?
Never have, never even heard of it.
Well, okay, let me just give you some background on the crime center. So when Coley was here, Police Director Coley was here, there was a murders were taking place under her watch. And so I went to her and I said, listen, Director, you're going to either have to help us bring this toll down, this death toll down. And if you can't do that, then maybe Trenton is not the place for you to be. And she said to me, she said, Council President, she said, there's only two ways that I could get that done. She said, one, I need officers, manpower, or two, I need technology. So I said, listen, DCA is not going to give you any more manpower. So what are you going to do? So Director Coley went out and met with some of her co-workers that she had been working with over the years in the State Department, the state police, and she was able to come up with $5 million. The $5 million, she took it and it came before the council, and we agreed that to get the $5 million for her, and she had the crime center put up and had it staffed and ready to go. She gets fired, and nobody knows how to work the crime center or to staff it. And so, to me,
still there?
Pardon me?
Is it still there?
Yes, it's still there. Yes. Come on, listen. The crime center was put up by Coley to be preventive,
Right.
not to be reactionary.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so you asked about the revolving door with the police department. And I wanted to just tell you that that crime center was there and it needs to be fully staffed. And under my leadership, that's what I would work for. I would work to get the crime center fully staffed, and I would work with PSE&G to light the city up. Because the crime center, you have cameras in every neighborhood on all these poles, and so there's 52-inch TVs. And as a matter of fact, if you've never seen the crime center, you need to get a tour down there so you can see what's in your community. And so they have 52-inch monitors that they could see over the entire city. So
Okay.
when people are out there,
Check that out. Check that out. Let me ask you this: what would, if you become mayor of the city of Trenton, what would be your priority project? What are you going to start working on day one?
the priority project is to get the crime center up and running, get it fully staffed, and get PSE&G in there to get the lighting in the city, and to basically be able to prevent some of these some of this gun violence. I think that is one of the most important things that needs to happen, because safety and security is foremost. It means everything, and I believe that the police officers, they should give us the 5 years that the state says that they should have to give us. We have a residency law,
5 years to do what?
To live here. In order to be a police officer right now on the books, you should live in the city, and you can't move for 5 years. But the residency law doesn't exist with this mayor. He's not enforcing the residency law.
Has it existed with any recent mayor?
Well, I think the law, Chris Christie strengthened the residency law.
Okay.
Mhm.
So something new. Okay.
No, it's not new.
It's something that the strength of it is.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Now, you're a council president now. Have you, or did anybody ever present to council a resolution in favor of reparations?
No, they have not.
Okay. Why is that? Why haven't you done that?
Well, because everybody have their projects that they like, that they want to push forward. And my biggest project was to create an amendment to the Victims Witness Protection Law. It's called the Victims Witness Protection Act. So I have been working on that, trying to get the legislators to give our young men that testify for the state and their families the protection they need. I don't know if you know this, but in the last 2 years, we had 7 execution-style deaths from young men and women that had turned state evidence for the prosecutor's office, and they were released back on the streets with no protection, and they were killed execution style. So I have been working diligently trying to get that Victims Witness Protection Act amended so that it could protect our young men. So they said, if you see something, say something. But if you see something and you say something and you're not getting any protection, why would you say anything? Right. So, right. I've been that is why I did not work on the reparation piece, because I had some other projects that I needed to work on. The other project that I worked on is the Section 3 ordinance, creating the Section 3 officer, so that when these contracts are coming into the city and the contractors are bidding, that they have to, and they get federal dollars, that they have to have a percentage of that money, and a percentage of those jobs go to the local residents here in the city. So I worked hard on that. And the other piece, the key piece that I worked on is trying to establish a redevelopment agency, because under the council, the former council, we are the redevelopment authority. That is one of the hats that we wear. And so the redevelopment agency will take that out of the council's hands and place it in an independent agency, where you would have professional planners. They would look at our 250 plan, and they would not be allowing these buildings to be erected that look like contemporary buildings next to stone. It just doesn't fit. This is a historic city. This city is a very, very rich city. And for people to say, hey, I don't want to go to Trenton, that's That's not happening. A lot of people want to go to Trenton. They want to come into Trenton as we speak because we own that water. They want to build the Delaware up, which it should be built up, but it should be built up and it should be built up under and for the residents in the city of Trenton. We can invite people in. We want to invite them in. We want to create an atmosphere to bring them in, but we want to also protect the people that are here, the residents that have held this city together over the years. And so
I agree 100%. My sister, it's been great speaking with you. I love talking to a strong Black woman. I love it because, we got to protect and defend our women. So it's good that you're taking that lead, and I'm looking for you to do very well in this election. So I thank you.
All right, don't tell me my time is up. We haven't even gotten to the Board of Education piece. Let's just hit that piece.
But maybe we'll bring you back next week. How's that sound?
That sounds good, but next week we're on the grind now.
I know.
Trying to get those votes out. But all righty, it's been great speaking with you. I wanted to tell you about the Board of Education, and I just wanted to share some more things with you, but
okay,
my time has run out.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Good luck with
Thank you.
All righty. Wow, isn't that outstanding? My Lord, it's good. It's good talking to our sisters like this because, historically, our sisters, our Black women have been the backbone of our families. It used to be that, the man followed the woman's family, and I don't know, then we got hooked up with this English law and all this paternity shit. But anyway, stuff. Did I say that? Okay. Anyway, we have my sister coming on next. My Lord. And this is really, really great. We have Ty Wilson coming on. She's running for council at large. Let me bring her on right now. Come on here, Ty. Come on over here and talk to me. Sure. Hey,
come on. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing just great. How about you?
I'm doing fine. Just getting off the campaign trail. It's dark. I had to stop because it's dark, but I was still walking.
So you be out there every day?
I better be. If I want to hear what my people talking about, and my people are every single resident in the city of Trenton, I better knock on that door.
That's right. I'm hearing you. It's good to see you. I'll tell you what, let me start. We always start off, we want you to tell the people who are listening who you are and what you stand for.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So my name is Taiwanda Terry Wilson, and I am a resident here in the great city of Trenton. I've been a lifelong resident in the city of Trenton, and that is not why you should vote for me. You should vote for me because I care about every single resident in the city of Trenton. I care about our quality of life. I care about our economic development. I care about our safety. I care about our trauma that we experience. I care about our broken homes. I have 3 beautiful children who have all graduated from Trenton Central High School. I own my home, so I'm invested here in the city of Trenton. I have been an education advocate and an advocate for Trenton for many years, fighting to make sure our voices are heard, fighting to make sure that we have fairness and equality in the way that we are policed in our education and our quality of life.
Okay, my goodness. So you've been a resident of Trenton all your life?
Mm-hmm.
Born and raised?
Born and raised. I'll be 50 next year. I know I don't look it, but yeah.
50?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm not even gonna mess with that. Okay, now a couple. During the last election, you ran for East Ward Council, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so why did you make this? I mean, you only lost by what? And in the runoff, you only lost by what? A handful
5
of votes.
Yeah, I lost by 5 votes.
Why didn't you try for East Ward again this time? Why are you going for at large?
I think that Trenton needs good government. I believe that we need 7 people who can run City Hall effectively and efficiently. For me, that margin of error was so low. And I know many people across North, South, East, and West being here my whole life. So I figured I would extend the opportunity to get more votes. Trenton is changing. We have new demographics. And although everybody is welcome, I just want to make sure that I am able to help everybody and not just limit myself, because my work has never only been limited to the East Ward.
Okay. Now, as an at-large council person, what would be your top 3 priorities?
Has to be talking about discrimination in our police department. That goes to the HR, how we hire people, what happens to people when they get inside HR, what happens to people on the street. My second thing is going to be quality of life, talking about the housing stock that we have here, the absentee landlords, the slumlords, and I'll even go further and talk about the what happens to people when they go to landlord and tenant court, the disrespect that they face, the deaf ear and the tone that is, applied to people. People are paying an awful lot of money and they're frustrated. I always fight for education, although I know that the city council doesn't have a lot to do with the Board of Education. I take with me the pulse of my community, and I will never lose sight of that.
What happens at this tenant court?
A lot of times people have properties that are in a very sad state. I've had a couple of constituents talk about having a rodent problem because the people next door to them live 14 people to a house because the rents are so high and people are living shacked up, right? And so it is affecting the quality of the homeowner who lives next door, because our properties aren't that big. So that's one of the issues that I've heard. Another issue is a person had a living room that was in such a state of disrepair that she could not put a couch on her floor because she felt like it would sink in. And the landlord was absent, wouldn't respond to the calls. They give themselves protection by having LLCs. So you have one person who will give you your lease, another person that you're paying money to, and nobody who will respond to your concerns. And our people work very hard, right? And so they're making tough choices, paying high rents for shabby services. And it's just unacceptable.
I was in tenant court, a few years ago, and the anger that I carried today from that experience, from the judge and from the prosecutor in the court, I can just imagine what other people have to go through to have gone through, just not from the landlord, but from the institutionalized part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? It's such a heavy, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. This is for you, love.
It's such a heavy burden, right? So you're working hard, you're paying your hard-earned money, you're coming home frustrated, you're leaving your children for hours. And then when you look for regress or redress from the courts and you're dressed down and you're disrespected and you're paying their salary, it's overwhelming. We're at a point now where it's like, listen, we're here for Trentonians, every single Trentonian, and we're not going to brush aside people any longer. We're not going to fix Trenton without Trentonians being included in that. We welcome outsiders, but we're going to rebuild Trenton. We're going to put some respect on the residents because it's nothing inherently wrong with us. We can articulate our concerns. We can tell you what we need, and we just need for people to hear us. And when you don't hear us, we got to vote you in or out. And that includes judges, that includes directors, but we can't vote them out, but we can hope that we elect people who will take the pulse and the concern of residents into City Hall.
Now, I know you're a member of the Democratic Committee.
I am. I'm a committee woman. Yes, I am a
Now,
Democratic committee woman.
All the laws that New Jersey has for the past, 40 years have come from Democrats, basically. Okay? And a lot of these laws have not helped the people of Trenton. So I put the blame on Democrats. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm saying if you
Go
get
ahead.
elected, are you going to go to these committees and say, hey, look, we as Democrats have got to do better by our people, not just in Trenton, but all over. I mean, because the Democrats are the ones who have done the approving of laws for 40 years in the state.
Right. So that's
So you
the
really
first part of that.
go to your people and say, hey, look, we got to do a lot better.
So the first part of the answer is I do it right now. I do it every single day. I do it every opportunity I get. The second part of that is I was at a Democratic committee meeting maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, and we were rallying around trying to get people to vote. And I stood up and I said, I'm a Democrat and I vote for issues. I will vote for anybody, whether they're Democratic or Republican. I can tell you, there's very few Republicans that I can, vote for based on what they say, but I vote for people based on their platforms and what they have done, not based on lip service. So I'm very open-minded because I know what it feels like to be labeled. So I don't do labels, right? So that's the second part. The third part was at this meeting, I said to them, I'm a Democrat. And until you begin to address issues that concern me, you can't necessarily think that you're going to have my vote secured. You have to earn my vote. So I don't care whether I'm a Democrat, which I am happily, or a Republican. You need to speak to my issues. And when you don't, I don't vote for you, because this isn't a job that is for you. It's a job for people, whether they're Democrat or Republican. When you are an elected official, you are here to help people. So I don't see labels. I don't see labels.
Okay. Let me ask you about, on the ballot this year will be a referendum about whether or not we should go to an elected school board. What do you think about that?
Wow. I am not for an elected school board. I would like to see, which isn't an option, and I hope at some point we could make it an option. I would like to see a hybrid. And the reason why I'm not for an elected, okay, so let me go back. And a hybrid is a mixture of both elected and appointed. So to me, I'm all in fairness and seeing both sides. I'm against an elected school board only because our population in the city of Trenton, we don't turn out the vote. So I understand the concerns, and those are valid concerns. People's concerns are a mayor gets to appoint a school board, and they want to make sure that we have some options. Well, I can tell you, running for office costs money. People have to come out and vote for you. And so what my concern is, or my fear is, I don't want to see people who have the financial means to get signs or whatever it is they need to be and get their message out, overshadow good people who cannot keep up with the machine or money, donated to them. And then if people don't come out and vote, I don't want us to throw out the baby with the bathwater. So I would like to see a mixture. So that's the answer. I'm running on.
Okay. The East Ward has been represented by a council person for the past 4 years that has been pretty much backing up everything the mayor wants to do. Would you continue to do something like that? Or have you had problems with what the mayor has put forward during his tenure?
So I believe that we have one city council at a time, and I think that we have one mayor at a time. And I think that the people have spoke. I think that the only thing I can do is present myself to become a council person, and I did, and the people chose who they chose, right? So, I mean, if we don't like that, people have to vote to make a change. But for me, I will look at every petition that comes before me with an open mind, not suggesting anybody else has on either side. I will look at any petition that comes before me. That's what I can promise you. And I will make sure that I am doing the best for the city of Trenton. An example of that leadership that I have exhibited would be the high school. I think, I fought for Trenton High for years to get a new high school. My ideal plan for the high school was a modernized. Let's keep the building. We had all type of feasibility studies, all type of environmental reports that said that the structure was solid. But I cared about that, but that school held 3,500 students. The community spoke. and everybody decided that they wanted a new high school. And so I'm happy to do what the community wants. So the community got a new high school. I did not take my ball. I didn't go home. I didn't talk about what the community decided. You support the community. And that's what our goal here is, to not do what Ty wants, is to do what's best for the community and to do what's best for Trenton and to see what makes sense. And that is how I will continue to govern. Sometimes that will be in the best, sometimes that will be exactly what the community wants, and sometimes it won't be, and that's a leader. But when you're making decisions, the bottom line is it has to be what's good for Trenton, not what's good for Ty.
Okay. Now, speaking about Trenton High School, you're still associated with that, right?
Yeah, I'm the president of Trenton Central High School Alumni Association. My children have all graduated, but yeah, I'm still very concerned about education of our children. Yes.
Okay. How is Trenton High School doing right now? I
I
know,
would have to.
if you look at the report card, the New Jersey State report card, they're not doing too much better than they have been in previous years. But you're there on the ground in the school. What are your impressions of what's actually happening inside the school?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not in the schools as much, but I'm still very concerned about how our children are educated, what they're being taught. So I don't know. I know that right now, one of the things, and it's not an answer to your question about Trenton High specifically, but I know that there are some concerns about the redistricting with our people's children being all over the district, and I'm not happy about that. And I believe parents spoke to that. And that's one of the issues that we have. We're very good at articulating what we need, but people in positions are not good at listening and being receptive to what we're saying. Because we said don't redistrict our children. We even told the community, we even told our Board of Education not to change the start time of our school hours, because parents have children of varying ages at varying schools, and some of the older children needed to take their younger brothers and sisters, to school. So the issue I believe we have in education is we need to let teachers educate. We need to let parents' voices be heard. And it's time for us as a community to stop asking and require and demand. So that means make sure that we are electing mayors, whoever they may be, who has the pulse of what we're saying, and his or her appointments will reflect what we're saying. And if we get board members that don't, and mayors don't change that, we need to re-elect mayors. It's just that simple. We have the power with our vote, and that's not to any mayor. That's for Trentonians. If we want to see our city move in a specific direction, we need to elect people who understand and hear our voices.
And that will get us moving in the directions we want to go, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I want to stay with the schools a little bit. Now, as a council person, I hear council people tell me that, we don't have much to do with the school board. We don't have, with schools, we don't have anything. Which to me is a bunch of nonsense, because you're a leader in the community, and as a leader, you have certain influence. What are we going to do about these schools? Because these schools have been horrible educationally for a long time. What are you committed to do to change this? Because it can't continue like this, Ty.
I agree with you. I've been fighting in education for about 20 years. So the proper answer to your question, it is very frustrating, but unfortunately, the way that our form of government is, we are governed under the Faulkner Act, but the Department of Education, which is the state, governs the Board of Education. Governs education. So even though the city of Trenton's Board of Education is under us, it's still governed by the state. And that is true. The city council only can provide money in the form of I think it's the school board of estimates. We provide funding for that, but we can't tell them what to do with it. So it all goes back to having people in positions, our superintendent, if the mayor appoints the Board of Education, understanding the direction that we want to see. And parents want the same thing everybody else wants. They want their children to be educated. They want them to have a quality education. They want it done in a safe building. They want it done inside their community, safe to their home. If they have to travel or the school has to be transferred, people want bus tickets. We live in a crime-ridden city, right? So we don't need and we live in a city that's territorial, even though we're only 7.5 square miles. So we have to take all of these things into consideration when we are making decisions that impact our children. And just to push back a little, I'm sure the statistics do show that our children aren't doing well, but it's time for us to get the monkey off our back and stop thinking it's just our kids, because America isn't educated people the way it should be. So just America's educational system is not up to par. I think we're like maybe 15 or 20th, and that's not something to brag about. But for us, we have to have our children value education. We need to make sure that it is understood that we want to be involved and come into our schools to find out how our children are doing. And we all have to work together. Teachers have to teach, students have to learn, parents have to be involved.
Okay, now you said that we should be able to go into the schools, but no, that ain't happening nowadays. It's very tough for parents, for community members to get inside those schools, because it is, and it isn't even now. I mean, it's been like this for years, that the school leadership doesn't want the community inside those schools.
And have you reminded them that you're a taxpayer? Because my children graduated right when that was beginning to happen. But you were never telling me I couldn't go into a building that my tax dollars paid for. Forget about a title, because I've been a committee woman for Trenton District East 8 for years. But let me walk into a school and you deny me entry. Show me a policy that tells me I can't come in. That's what we have to do. We have to know our rights. But it's exhausting, bro. Come out.
I know.
And we got to get real. It is so exhausting for us as African Americans. We have to fight for everything. We have to fight to get respect. We have to fight to get into a school building. We have to fight to get a landlord to pay attention to us. It's exhausting. We're not going to stop fighting, but we need to start electing people who are going to understand what we need, and we need to get them out when they don't.
We need to elect people who are willing to fight for us, and to teach us how to fight. Okay, because that's important. You can't just say, "Well, I'm a this or I'm a that," without saying, "Hey, look, I'm this. Let me bring you in so I can teach you so that you can go on." That one of the things that we look at is that politically, an elected school board, was a foundational spot for people to go to higher levels. They go to the school board, they get elected to school board, and then maybe they go on to city council, and then maybe they go on to county, and then the mayor, and then they become state representatives. So, I kind of like the idea of an elected school board. Okay, but I'm just so frustrated, Ty, because I've seen that the school system has not improved over the past 40 years, and with billions of dollars being poured into this system, and it's just frustrating to me that we're not producing kids who have everything that they need.
I share that sentiment. And if you may or may not recall, I used to put on parent summits with some other educational leaders. We used to actually put on parent forums and parent summits over at Junior 3. We did it at the Board of Education. We did it down at the Central Services building. So I totally agree. It's a lot. And I don't have one answer to fix it. I can only tell you what I have done because I agree. I know there's no magic wand. Yeah. And listen, and I hope that people recognize that when you elect a person to city council, the only thing that we can do is approve the budget. We can create ordinances, and we better be taking your voice. But I want you to stand with me, and I need you to hold me accountable and say what your concerns are, because that is what we're there to hear, your concerns. And let's just say, for example, we're talking about the Board of Education and issues that goes to the State Department of Education. But I will support anything. I will come to a Board of Education meeting. I will state on the record what I need to support and what I don't need to support. It has to be in the best interest of our city, but that's a state issue, right? When we talk about quality of life, we talk about trash, that belongs in the city of Trenton, and that goes to the director of, who handles that department. So I think that we have to understand our power. We need to know how to yield our power, and we need to have our representatives enforce and invoke the full authority of the power that is vested in them to make sure that the city is running in the manner that residents want it to be for their tax dollars.
Now, when you go out on the streets of Trenton, you're out there a lot right now because you're campaigning. Do you feel safe? What are we going to do about the safety problem here in Trenton?
Well, so, when I'm walking, sometimes I'm walking by myself, sometimes I'm walking with a team of volunteers, sometimes I'm walking with people on my team. But even when I'm by myself, I'm out there because this is my hood. I can't say I feel safe all the time. I'm not afraid of my people. I'm afraid of crime. But my being afraid of crime doesn't keep me away from the people. And I also feel like the crime that's happening in our city is happening from us. We got to tell the whole truth. The murders that we have, we're killing each other. So I want to get to the root of why we are hurting so bad that we are invoking so much pain. I have been endorsed by Moms Demand Action for gun sense and how real I am about Trenton and our issues. I was at a press conference with Moms Demand Action because they were trying to get a law passed that says when people go to, they want them to have a sales tax or some type of insurance when they purchase, guns. So after the press conference is over, I'm talking to moms and I'm talking to the legislators. I'm like, listen, I'm standing here in solidarity and I have been endorsed by you all. And Moms Demand Action was created in response to gun violence in schools. And pain is pain. So I'm standing here in solidarity. But here in the city of Trenton, I think 3 weeks ago, we had just had 2 murders that weekend. So I'm like, so I'm standing here and I need you guys to be in solidarity with us in Trenton because we want to find out how these guns are getting into our community. Who's buying these guns and who's trafficking these guns? It was silence. And it wasn't that people didn't care. I learned in that moment, it was confirmed people only know from their pain is their pain. But all of our pain is our pain because any mom that loses a child, so the same way we stand on the line for other people, we need people to stand on the line for us because our issues are different. We're dealing with racism. We're dealing with discrimination. We're dealing with redlining. We're dealing with the trauma of racism. We're dealing with our families being separated. We're dealing with felony assessments preventing our men from getting jobs. And maybe that has begun to change. But what we're seeing right now, the addictions, the loss of people, the frustration, this is all trauma. And all of this is directly related to the things that have happened to Black people. And because Trenton has been redlined and we're predominantly Black and brown, those are some of the issues that we face and we can't ignore it.
Okay, our time is just about up, guys.
Oh, I'm sorry, I rambled on.
It goes so quickly, but I know you're talking about health, mental health. Okay, is that a function of the city council that you can somehow work with the city's mental health agencies and address that to the community?
I should have listened to your whole entire question. I thought you were going to say, is it a function of city council? No, but we do have a city department of health, and the Trenton health team does talk about trauma. But we as residents, we have to really understand how much power we have. We can direct those conversations because when we talk about trauma, racism is trauma. Being priced out of jobs is trauma. Walking around in a state of policing, that's trauma. Having your kids go to school in buildings that are that's trauma. Going to work and paying 80% of your income to a slumlord, that's trauma. And being heard, not heard, and that's one type of, we ain't even talking about just daily living. That's just getting through the day. But yes,
once you get on council, will you help people to understand that they do have a voice?
Yes, I will. I do it even before I'm on council. Everywhere I go, I speak to that.
Okay. I mean, it's critically important because a lot of us simply don't know how to get anything accomplished, so we need help.
Yeah. So civics aren't taught anymore. You know what I say to people, and it's a shame, but we have access to the internet right at our fingertips. If we can find how, and this is not a dig at anybody, I tell my children this. If you can find out how to go get your hair done, your nails done, buy this weave, or look, use that same phone to educate yourself. And I'm not suggesting anybody is ignorant because that's not what I mean. What I'm saying, the answer to your question, they don't teach civics, and they don't teach civics for a reason. So instead of not being engaged, we have to figure out how to get involved and know that we have a place. And that includes white people, black people, brown people, Haitians, Liberian, because Trenton is very diverse. So for us to move our city forward, we have to understand how much power we have. We have to wield that power. We have to wield that power in a common goal, which is to move the city of Trenton forward, inclusive of every single resident, irregardless of their race, and not leaving anybody out because of their race.
Very good. I thank you very much. I wish you all the luck in the world and keep walking those streets, because that's how you get it.
You.
Knocking on doors and touching people. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for providing this space. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
All righty. Wow, that has really been great. We tonight we've delved into two beautiful sisters, and I really hope that they can help us lead this city in the next 4 years. I am Kamau Kujichagulia. This is Kamau Kujichagulia on the case. And we'll be back next week with, I know we're going to have Jazzy. We're going to have Damian Malavi. They're both running for, city council. So see you next week. Thank you very much. Love you.